promise all the good people of Edo State, in Edo State, in Nigeria, in the diaspora, that I will work tirelessly for our state. I will assemble a group of young men, women, older, middle-aged, the best hands possible to move our state to the next level. And I promise you all that I will give you my all.
I came out to find out that it was actually the delegates, and I can recognize some of the faces, especially those from the world, so once that we are playing politics together. And they are telling me that they went to do their accreditation, and they refused them accreditation, and they thought it was a joke, but consistently, almost all of them were refused accreditation, and they came to tell me what has happened. And for me, I've assured them I will take their grievances to appropriate authority. Those are the delegates. Those are the delegates that emerged in the last adult delegate election, and also the national delegate election. Those are the delegates, and they have their results, and I'm aware of it. We have challenged the process of these elections, and you can increasingly see that our challenge in the process of the election is becoming too visible. How will you want to disenfranchise authentic delegates and replace them with people that do not exist?
Welcome back. Let's now talk about the myriads of challenges we're facing as a country. We're going to deal with the economic and security issues, but we may have to start from internal democracy within parties. We've seen what's happening in Edo State. The primaries are over for all of the political parties getting set for September governorship election. Therefore, what people consider the lead political parties, it's not been a smooth ride. The APC started off with having 3 candidates, Monday Okpebolo, Dennis Idahosa, and then Anemero Dekeri. Eventually, they did another one after it was declared inconclusive, and Okpebolo was declared winner, and Idahosa as well as Dekeri are protesting. Let's come to the PDP. The PDP also did theirs, and Mr. Aswe Godalo emerged as the winner of the exercise at the Samuel Ogbemudia Stadium. But the deputy governor also had a parallel governorship primary, and he emerged as the winner, and he's also laying claim to the party's ticket. The Labour Party, we thought, maybe different, but it didn't work out well as they expected. Olumide Akpata was declared winner, but another gentleman within the Apapa faction has also been declared winner as Samota Anderson. So, what is going on with internal democracy within parties? That's why we're being joined by the PDP National Publicity Secretary, joining us from Abuja studio, Mr. Debo Ologuagba. Mr. Ologuagba, thank you so much for coming to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
When I come to politicians and they are smiling after remarks or videos, I want to ask, why are you smiling? Maybe that's the natural way to start.
Yeah, you need to smile because you're talking to people, you're not talking to machines. So you need to smile because I see you, you're all looking good, so I should smile to you. So good morning, all of you.
I would like to take that as the right answer. But let's move on now. Within your party, we're seeing 2 candidates emerge. I don't know what the response will be. The exercise was conducted and Aswe Godalo emerged winner. But there has been issues even before that particular exercise by 9 other aspirants, which has now culminated in the party having 2 people claiming the right to the tickets of the party. What's the reaction of the National Working Committee?
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for the opportunity to have this conversation with you this morning. I think we should put on the premise. Clearly, we do not have 2 candidates. We don't have parallel candidates. we didn't have parallel primaries, but I need to put it in perspective so that we can understand the processes of primary elections. Under the guidelines, the Electoral Act, our internal guidelines, and the Constitution, the body that has the power and the authority to conduct primary election and congresses for political parties is the National Working Committee of the party. In our case, the National Working Committee of the PDP. In course of this process, we started out to issue our schedules and timelines for each of the activities relating to the primary election. And the beginning was to have the 3 ad hoc delegates. In doing this, the party issued details. In the details that we issued, among that was the venue and the processes and procedure for conducting the delegate election to elect 3 ad hoc for the 192 wards in Edo State. Before then, we issued a statement which was published to identify the location and the venue. And what we were guided adequately so in accordance with the procedures and the law by advertising that the delegate elections for the election of the 3 ad hoc delegates would be conducted and the venue accredited and identified by INEC. That's in the public domain. It was published in 2 national dailies. On the day set aside and scheduled for that process, party members went to those designated locations as published, and the election were conducted. And 3 ad hoc delegates emerged for each of those local government, except for one, which was again redone. I think 2 local governments in the northern part of the state. Thereafter, in accordance with the processes that is established in our party, when people have grievances and complain against the process, there's an appeal panel. Petitions were sent to the appeal panel, they were considered, and the appeal in its wisdom, after considering all the issues, sent a report approving of that process as having been substantially in compliance with the guidelines, with the laws, and with the rules. In line with the processes that is embedded in this system, the party, the NWC, sat to consider the appeal panel report, and its wisdom approved that process. And thereafter, we proceeded to the primary. Again, for transparency, for clarity, and for fairness, the venue, the date, the time for the primary election, and the list of delegates, as well as the list of the electoral committee of the party, headed by the governor of Zamfara State and co-chaired by the governor of Delta State, with Senator James Manager as secretary. The committee comprised of notable Nigerians, senior advocates, great politicians, and they came in, they conducted the primaries. The whole process was transmitted live, and so from that process, Aswe Igodalo emerged. And that is where we are. So that is the in line with the laws. That is the correct process, and that is the legal process in line with the Constitution, in line with the Electoral Act, in line with our processes, in line with our guidelines.
If I can come in now,
we do not have 2 congresses.
So what does that make the Deputy Governor, Philip Shaibu? Mr. Mr. Logrumba.
Sorry?
I said, so what does that make the deputy governor, Mr. Philip Shaibu?
What do I make of that?
What does that make him? If you say that Mr. Asuwagodalo is the rightful candidate of the party, what does that make the deputy governor, who's also laying claims to this?
No, again, you see, I am not going to be commenting on what I make about the claim. What I have just simply set out is to show the process, the procedure, in line with the laws, in line with our guidelines, and the steps we have taken as a party. One, to ensure that there's a fair and free process, to ensure that there's a clarity, and the fact that every aspirant has the opportunity, because what we did, our own job is to make sure that the rules are clear and that every aspirant have the opportunity.
I understand, Mr. Logrumba. I just want to lay the cards.
And so we publish that.
Right, pardon me. I just want to lay the cards bare, really, so we are clear. So you said Mr. Asuwagodalo is a candidate. Mr. Philip Shaibu, the deputy governor, and you saw what he said there after the process was conducted. For people who are watching and they're still confused, particularly young Nigerians who I imagine that the PDP is trying to encourage to get into governance, to participate actively, what would you tell them about what is playing out? What does that make Mr. Philip Shaibu? Let's speak to the issues clearly. Is he the candidate or not?
The issues are clear, Kyle.
Yeah.
Kyle, there's only one issue that is clear, and I've clarified that, Kyle, is the fact that there's a process. And when there's a process, and they are clear, and you have followed that, the outcome of that becomes very clear.
But you're quiet about the deputy governor, is what I'm saying. And a lot of people want you to speak to
Yes.
that. Would you just allow him carry on as would I say, parallel candidate? You know, all of these terms are going across parallel candidates, the second candidate of the party. Would you allow that go on, is what I'm asking?
No, exactly. That is not going to happen with us. That is why, like I always reference, the PDP has an internal resolution mechanism that is very robust. And I can tell you this. You know, elections are it's an emotive thing, and people can feel in a particular way, either rightly or wrongly, but the processes should be followed. For us, we know we have gotten to the next stage of getting our party members together, and that is the next stage. But the question to ask is this: have you followed the due process? If you have, if someone has emerged through that process, that we as NWC have tried as much as possible to make very clear. From all I have said in terms of how we proceeded, when there are complaints like there is right now, the internal mechanism of the party will kick in. And I'm sure we're at that level. I know the Deputy Governor, Philip Shaibu, to be a party man. I know that Philip Shaibu means well for the Edo State. And I think what is important here is to look at what we are in this country today in terms of life, in terms of insecurity, in terms of almost absence of governance at the federal level, particularly from the APC. What is key to Edo State people today is to find that, yes, we have a governor in Edo State who is reasonably doing very well. And to that extent, the Edo State, or they require from the PDP, is to have a united front to continue to have that dividend of democracy.
But Mr. Olugwagba,
arising from the performance of...
Pardon me if I may come in here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Does the party at the national level acknowledge the complaints by the deputy governor and his supporters that they were excluded from the process? They were denied admission into the venue of the primaries. Is the party addressing that?
Well, I can't speak to that specifically about that, but I do know that for every complaint, again, maybe I may just step back and give you the process. After the primary, there was another committee, which is the appeal panel for the primary consideration if there are complaints. Petitions were sent in, and the petition was substantially in complaint about how the delegates emerged. there was no complaint about or against the primary election process. What you said to me now seems it's not before us. I'm not conscious of that. I didn't see that report of denial of people into the access. In any event, people were accredited. Those are delegates. I understand they were accredited, which is in line with the process, and they were led into the venue. Those whose name have been published as emerged from the primary process in terms of the congresses that produced the 3 ad hoc delegates.
But the delegate system
is... The report as to people being prevented from coming to the venue, I don't have that, and I can't substantiate that right now. Because we didn't have that at the National Working Committee level, and I think we may need to look into that again if that is true at all.
But how the delegates emerge in the primary is just as critical as the process itself. And if you're saying that you are not aware of the report about denial of admission into the venue, isn't the party running the risk of being seen as partial to the governor?
Well, I mean, again, that would be your own. That would be your own assumption. But I have just laid out the processes for the party. Look, we started from the 3 ad hoc delegate election. We published the venue for them. There are no venues. All the venues are public places as accredited by INEC. In fact, we got those information from INEC and it was rightly published. In the primary process, in terms of getting ad hoc delegates, what you do is to talk to party members, and delegates would contest, and they would emerge as having been successful to be delegates for that election. And that's what we did. And those that were successful and confirmed by their peer panels set up for that process as having been done in accordance substantially with the guidelines and rules and the law, they were published. And the venue of the primary election was made public, the location, the time, and the processes were all open. The good thing was that all these processes were live telecast, and the records are there. The exit and the entry point, it was live. There was nothing partial about that. And in any event, there's no reason for us to be partial with the governor. The processes have been opened in line with our guidelines. It has been followed methodically and carefully in line with that. And I challenge anyone to say that all I have said was not consistent with what is in line with our own processes.
All right, Mr. Alogo, let's move away from the Edo politics. So let's look at the national issues. There's a lot going on at the national level. Sometimes it's quite difficult to which one to talk about because the pain points are all over the place. But the PDP candidate, the Labour Party candidate, as well as the incumbent president had all agreed that one thing that had to go was subsidy removal. And then the Naira has been floated, and we're seeing all that is going on within the dynamics of the economy. So I want to find out from you, let's talk solutions now. What is the government missing in their whole calculation that you think that Alhaji Atiku Abubakar would have done differently to manage the situation?
Thank you. This is a very critical question, and I think this is actually the number one point for every Nigerian, because Nigerians are dying, people are hungry, people can come to work, and life is gradually and surely, except there's a stop, grinding to a halt. Look, the policy thrust of the APC has been ill-advised, ill-timed, and ill-thought out. And we have said this at several fora. Now, governance is here. I think every Nigerian wants this government to succeed. Why? Because it is in the success of the government that we can pursue our own happiness. But this is a government that is impervious to any other suggestion. We take the example of the petroleum industry. We all agreed, and a substantial number of Nigerians agree that subsidy must go. But the question is how? First of all, any government should recognize that the primary purpose of government is the welfare and security of the people. The moment any government fails in those basic things, then of course that government has failed. And the APC at the national level has failed on these two fronts. There's so much insecurity on the country. Lives and properties are not safe. And of course, related to that is that, of course, the welfare of the people have been affected. And the reason is this. When you take a decision on such as removal of subsidy, that has a cascading effect all over the country, what you need to do is to have a process, and specifically on the issue of solution. The PDP would have done something differently, which is, we have 4 refineries today, none of them working. And we understand you have a combined capacity of 400 barrels per day, 400,000 barrels per day. What we would have done differently would be that rather than wake up one morning without any plan, without considering what the effect will be, and say, oh, we remove with a fiat the subsidy. What we would have done is to assess the 4 refineries and find which of them is the least in trouble. And then we can give ourselves a 9-month window to ensure that that comes upstream. What does that mean? What do we practice now? It's to take the 400,000 barrels outside the country to refine. Embedded in that is to have the cost of freight, the insurance, the transportation, logistics, and then refining. And when you finish the refining, you bring the same product back. What then happens? You pay the same cost. In addition to that, you have storage at the tank farms in Nigeria. All these costs and all these levels embedded therein are corruption. So what we have done is to take the product out, refine, improve the economy of another country, bring it back at double the cost to us, and then it is passed on to us in the name of subsidy. What we would have done would be to, let's say, for purposes of analysis, we take the 100,000 barrel capacity, and you fix it in the first 9 months. What it means is that the 100,000 barrels per day will be refined locally by one of the refineries. Right. What follows thereafter is that there are byproducts that are in hundreds of byproducts from refining. It means those companies that need those byproducts as their raw materials will no longer import. What it means, there will be less pressure on foreign exchange for those companies. And of course, there will be employment by those companies and their employees. Right. What does it mean? It means they will be engaged, they'll be paying taxes, there will be inflation in the economy, but they didn't do that. And they're not listening to that. And until they listen and ensure that, yes, there are superior knowledge and information that will help the country, we will go this way. Well, you can see the interrelationship. If we can fix only 100,000 barrels today, it means in the next 2-3 years, we will not be refining the 100,000 barrels outside the country. And the cascading effect in terms of positive aspects, in terms of those raw materials and those companies that will be employing other Nigerians will be there. So if they look at that, all right. On the issue of security, they are not listening to even to the experts. We know that the root cause of the biggest challenge for us in this country was insecurity. That is why we don't have food production, because farmers can't go to their farms. You recall, APC, sometimes under Buhari said, when 43 farmers were killed in Maiduguri, and I think Borno is somewhere there, they said they didn't take permission. And you ask yourself, where is the government when farmers will need to take permission to go to their farms? In any event, they have always lied to us. They said to us then that there was the challenge of, Anko borrowers came. There's so much food production. And they came to Abuja, created a wooden structure, put in bags of rice on there, and then declared it as pyramid of rice, which turned out to be pyramid of lies. So until they go into the basic, fix the security so that farmers can go to the farms, because indeed, if there was abundance of production as arising from the very fraudulent program of Anko borrowing, which of course is revealing right now, where the CBN sadly became a commercial bank, a retail bank, as against being a banker's bank, This is the problem that the APC has put on in the last 9 years. This government has a duty to begin to look at that, ask for help, and ensure that we can solve these twin problems of security, food production, and of course the welfare of the people.
You know, the beauty of this is, I mean, the opposition should always do its role, give alternative ideas. By the way, we reached out to the APC as well to have a robust conversation, to get responses to some of the points you have made. Perhaps that will happen in the coming days, but as of now, nothing. But let's speak to the current situation we're in right now and how to get out of it. Because you've talked about what could have happened, and I imagine a lot of people will have, you know, things to pick with it. The refineries will indeed have been ready in time, even faster than what this government is doing. What happens to the pre-existing agreements and contracts? You know how litigious these issues can be. But let's speak to how to trickle this down from federal to sub-nationals, because the PDP controls substantial amount of state itself. And I remember that the APC had said when the PDP governor spoke about state police, and the response of the APC was, how about the state governors account for the monies they're getting from FAC, which have since increased from what it used to be. So let's speak to what the sub-nationals will do, because the PDP has power, at least in that area, and of course the National Assembly as well, even though it's not majority. And I'd like you to speak to, maybe you can talk about specific state governments and what they're doing in these times to turn the tide of this economic hardship, because whether you like it or not, the state governors also have a major role to play in this. Mr. Olugbagbà.
Absolutely, and I agree perfectly with that. Every sub-national organ of government in Nigeria have responsibility, and they should be highly accountable. But again, we need to compare like for like. And it's important that we have this conversation so that Nigerians can begin to find out which party indeed have the interests of the people at heart. And let's compare like for like. Go to each of the 10 states of the PDP in Nigeria today. You can ably describe them as oases of development. And I start from Oyo State. You've been hearing the last 1 year about commissioning of projects or starting off of projects that are of value to the people. In Oyo State, only about a week and a half ago, there was a commissioning of a 12.9 kilometer dual carriageway from a major part of axis into Oyo State in the capital. What does that tell you? When you have construction of such a magnitude, there are cascading benefits to other sectors. Where you have road development follow. So that's an example of the PDP state that is taking action to have money back into the system, to reflect the economy through construction, because the massive construction work will mean more people will be going to be working, more supply chain will be available, people will be providing food for those that are working there, and money will change, and that's how to grow an economy. You don't do hands-on or palliative. Those are temporary. What you need to do is to do construction or other jobs that could have an effect in the productive capacity of individuals in the country. You go to Akwa Ibom State, they have a project called Arise Agenda that covers agriculture, security, education, and they are side of development. You go to Osun State, it's a massive construction site where so many things are going on at the same time. So you can justify those monies, that extra money they're getting. And in the interest of people, in Oyo State, for instance, they have given grants to cushion the effect while negotiation for minimum wage or increment is going on. Ditto for every other PDP state. I challenge any of the APC government to come forward and say, yes, in the last 9 months or so, we have either started a project that could help improve life, or we're commissioning project. You go to Edo State, which is the key here. The project and the performance of the governor is there. Particularly, for instance, they just unveiled their security architecture in terms of deploying technology to be able to help to identify security challenges in the state. And that is what I think the federal government can borrow from. If you go to Bauchi State, Bauchi have decided to develop special kind of project that allows the government to be able to reach out to the people in the local government in terms of helping them in times of this hunger. So these are all over the government. I need to challenge the APC to say, look, name one state. Name one state that I'll be able to do that.
We may need to look closely at those PDP states to see how, that commitment to infrastructure development is also translating into positive indices in human capital development as well for the people. I'm hoping that we can talk a little bit of more politics before we wrap up this segment. Mr. Logwagba, what is the status of former governor of Rivers State and Minister Nyesom Wike within the PDP? Is he still a member of the People's Democratic Party vis-a-vis in what is generally perceived to be his role in the ongoing political crisis in Rivers State?
Well, I like the word you use, perceived. I like the word perceived. That would be your own characterization. However, membership of a political party is personal, and it's at the ward level, from unit level to ward level of the persons involved. Governor Nyesom Wike has not resigned from the PDP, to my knowledge, and therefore, if it is personal, he remains a member of the PDP. But again, you see, what we need to talk about is to talk about the people, and then not begin to situate a party within the context of an individual. Governor Wike has been a great member of this party. We had challenges before the general elections, which of course in politics is expected. But that is not to begin to imagine that he's not a member of the party. He is a member of the party because he has not resigned. To my own knowledge, from the records I have, he is still a member of the party. But what is more important is the capacity of the PDP to reconcile itself. And like I said to you, I don't come on TV to tell you this is what we're doing to do that. We know we have the capacity as a party to reconcile and bring everyone that have been aggrieved one way or the other within the fold. Not just because of the individual, it's because of this country. We need a party like PDP to help stabilize Nigeria. The APC has lost it. They have no vision. They have no direction. They have no policy. They have no program. They're doing what I call hop, step, and jump. It's like a rapid resort college. And you see them taking action that you begin to ask yourself, who are these people? Do they think through this? So that's the challenge that we have as a country.
Mr. Logwagba, we're totally out of time. If you can answer in 30 seconds, what Bukola is actually asking. People are perceiving or suspecting that the PDP is afraid of former Governor Nyesom Wike. Is your party scared of Wike? It's a straight question.
The answer in one word, no. Nobody is afraid of Governor Wike. We have no reason to be afraid of Governor Wike. We believe that we as a party must come together. And I think we need to please take this issue away from Governor Wike. We should talk about the party and the people of Nigeria. Because I like the word you keep constantly, you say perceived. That perception is yours, not us. We recognize that we have challenges in the past. We can fix it. We are capable of fixing it. It has happened in the past in the party. We have capacity in this party to resolve our differences. And I would appeal to the press. Let's focus on the issue of governance, because what is important to Nigeria today is not whether Wike is a member of PDP or not. It is that they can travel, that they can eat, and that they can survive. They can send their children to school, and that we have a government who will listen to them when they're in trouble. We have a government that will not be absent. That is what should be important, and I think that should be the message the press should be sending to Nigerian people. All
right, Mr. Debo Logwagba, we're definitely going to be bringing you back. Just avail yourself, or just come around when we call you so that we can ask you loads of questions, because we started with looking for solution. We haven't found that solution. So when people like you come out, we hope that the opposition will give us their own counter solution. Maybe the incumbent government will be able to take a leave. We all need to get out of this quagmire we're in. We must thank you, Debo Logwagba, the National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very, very much. Listen again to me. There were solutions that were profiled there, which is the position of our party. We need this country to move forward. We need APC to listen to us. We need them to lead very well and to ensure that, yes, together we can put this country together. Not this insensitivity and the arrogance and failure that they've been
all right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Ologu Agba. Well, guys, a lot of conversation we need to have with this guy, because right now everybody is trying to look for solution, and that's what we are focused on. We need to, like I said, we need to survive first, and then we can go battle with ourselves later. Well, we'll now switch gears to another issue, but we're going to take this quick break. When we come back, that very conversation around landlord and tenant, I'm sure you would like to be part of it. Join us again.